All right. Is everybody back? And if you're not, that's okay. You can hang out and still get the message of what's coming. So our speaker this morning is our monthly regular Reverend Doug Craig. I don't know, well, I guess we do have a month in December when we don't have you, when you're Santa Claus. Your alter ego comes out.
No, my alter ego's today.
Oh, sorry, yes, sorry, you're really Santa Claus, your alter ego's today, sorry, I forgot that. What occurs to me to say is that if this life is all about experiencing as much as possible, from the negative to the positive, from up and down, then I think the gold medal winner in the universe has got to be Reverend Doug Craig, because he has experienced it all, and it's from this deep well of experience that he brings such a beautiful abundance of wisdom. So today he's going to be talking to us about building community from within. So please help me welcome Reverend Doug Craig.
Well, I haven't done it all yet. I'm still working.
Oh, no.
And it's fun. Whoop. Good morning.
Good morning.
How's everybody this wonderful day?
Great.
Great. Well, so, you know, one of the things, this idea about building community, we look at it, you know, the thing about building community is we become exclusive when we build a community. And of course, in our exclusivity, we want to include people. So there's kind of an oxymoron there. We want to include people, but it's kind of exclusive because we're here because we all kind of have a common belief. And so this community is unique for this group of people. However, this community is also inclusive, which is including people. So what do we want to get back down to? Where are we going to build community and create community? We're going to do it to start out with within. And the greatest thing that we can do to be good custodians of life and to bring a greater good to the life is to cultivate the community within. You said, well, what communities is that? You know the little discussions that one has with oneself. There's Mr. Nice, Mr. Not So Nice, and Mr. Really Not Nice, and Mr. Spiritual. You know those folks that are in community here? You know what I'm talking about. Okay? And so we all have this desire to recognize and acknowledge the uniqueness and the oneness that we all share with everybody. Okay, so we have that desire. And how can we move it in a greater way out into the world around us? And the way that we can do that begins within ourselves. And the one thing that is a real good affirmation to use is simply this one. I am calm, I am centered, I am peaceful, and I am poised at all times and in all situations. Because as we declare that and live in that space, then we have the ability to be able to create a better world around us, regardless of the circumstance or situation. Okay? Regardless of that. And so what this idea is that I'm talking about is called inner peace. When we can resolve and build community within ourselves and deal with those different aspects of our personalities that talk to us and say different things. You notice nobody else is saying anything in your head, right? I don't think so anyhow. I wonder sometimes. It would be nice that you could turn it off, but it don't work like that. Okay, and this idea of doing it that way is not a new idea. Jesus said that blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. Okay? So this is all about intention. And one of the greatest gifts that I've had to be it's been 40 years since I've been delving in this. And the one great gift, the one thing that has begun to happen over all those years that you cannot buy, and I would not trade for anything, is a greater degree of inner peace. Wow, it's neat. Is it like that all the time? I wish, because they got all that other stuff going on. So our job is really to cultivate and to work at inner peace. There was a wise Lakota Sioux medicine man by the name of Black Elk many, many years ago. Even as just the first white man began to appear, he spoke of the rainbow tribe of many colors and the rainbow warriors who will save the earth. And who are these warriors if not us? Who is the tribe if not the people of this earth? He said we must band together instead of stand apart. Okay? This guy was one of the wisest of all. He actually embraced, when the whites came, he actually embraced the philosophy and studied with the Catholic missionaries, and he studied Catholicism and integrated that into his thinking. Quite an interesting guy. He said the first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they really realize their relationship with the oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that this center is really everywhere, it's within each of us. Pretty wise elder and medicine man from many years ago. The wisdom, you say, whether it be Jesus, Black Elk, or whether today, it's all the same. It hasn't changed. And the interesting thing about this is it's unique for each one of us, because each one of us are taking that inner journey. Okay? And part of building community is learning how to resolve inner conflict within ourselves. I wish there was an easy way to do it, and I wish I could tell you the handbook to do it, but it's just constant work, awareness, and a willingness to be better than we were and to experience a little bit more peace in our life. Because folks, you know, I always watch these beauty pageants, all the girls say, oh, I just want world peace. You ever see that? Yes. Yeah, they all do. Okay? My question is, what are you doing about it?
Yeah.
I don't want to know what you want. I want to know what you're doing. Well, I've been over here helping this and that. No, I want to know what you're doing in here. Because if it isn't happening in here, it ain't going to happen out there anywhere. Okay? When one is willing to be in that place and stand on truth, one can do some amazing things in a situation where there's conflict. And that conflict can be different types. I'm thinking about 3 specific different types of situations where I was in a conflict. And I put myself there in the middle. Because somebody had to. Because if not, it wasn't going to be really nice. Now, conflict A was 2 totally distinct organizations that had nothing in common, that were odds at each other all the time. But there was an event that happened, and it had to be resolved. Another one was a conflict of a bunch of people that were together for the same reason, but it was an election, and the ones were coming out and the ones were coming in. There were some incumbents and some new ones, and they had a war. Have you ever heard of that happening? Yeah. Okay? So there's that type. Then there was another type where a large church had a distinct split in it with 2 factions, both wanting to go in a different direction, and both not where the other one wants to go. And of course there's money around, and whenever there's money, there's always a bigger conflict. It's easier to solve them if there's no money, folks. Okay? And so I had the opportunity over the years in all 3 cases to be the individual that was called in to mediate the situation. And I don't mind doing that. I'm actually very good at that. However, when one does that, and why I'm talking about this is what one has to do with inside themselves. You have to mediate it. Because haven't you got your mind going away over here and you just can't get it back, and then you get it back and you're over here and it goes back over there? So sometime there we got conflict, so we need to mediate within ourselves. And so a couple of things that are really important in doing this, in particular, and it doesn't matter whether it's outside or inside, they both work the same way. Okay? So with one group, what I had them do, because it was really that bad, is I agreed to moderate based on principles of equality and everything, and had each side publish an agenda and how the guidelines of how they wanted to see the meeting. You're gonna love this. Of course, the poobahs running it on each side published the agenda and how it was to be run. And of course, when one steps into a situation like that, one has to be aware that it don't matter who's out there, not everybody's going to like you when you do something. In fact, chances are most people aren't going to like you. Nothing personal, it's just the way it is. And, you know, and this is the struggle we have within ourselves. We publish our agenda about what we're going to do to get ourselves on track and do everything right. And we're the authority, this is the agenda, we commit to it, and then we get the both sides going to work. Right? Inside yourself, you get the both sides going to work. And so it's like the agenda goes out the window. So we need to be able to simply, I say simply, it's simply if we do it, is bring ourselves back onto intention and what our agenda is, and be clear that either one of these that don't coincide with that agenda, then they are not going to be given time and space in our head. We're not going to deal with that because we have an agenda. And that's what we want to do. We want to be real clear on what it is that we're about. And when that inner stuff starts going, we want to just bring ourselves back to the agenda. And I did that with that organization, and you know, I had to put about a dozen people in their place for being out of line with the published agenda and intentions of the meeting. Okay? And every one of them had one thing in common. They were all the people that were in the leadership on both sides. They were out of line. Okay? And, okay, so you're beginning to get the drift, right? We're the ones that set the agenda, and we're the ones that are out of line. Right? Okay. So that's the job of inner awareness, is to continually bring ourselves back to what our agenda is. And if we say, well, I don't have one, that's our agenda. You always have one, folks. Just like when people say, oh, I didn't have any choice, that's your choice. You always have choice. We always have an agenda. Well, I'm not aware of it. That's true, you might not be, but you have an agenda. You better get clear on what your agenda is, or else you ain't going to be able to change what's happening. So we got to have that agenda to work at ourselves, to bring us to this place of being a peacemaker. Okay? Not out there, folks. You're going to do it out there anyhow once you got it in here. It's natural. When you're nice, don't you take out nice things on other people? When you're nasty, don't you take out some nasty things on other people? Well, not other people, just ones close to us, because they'll let us unload on them, and they'll still stick around. Occasionally, sometimes they don't. But you know what I mean? Okay? So what's our agenda? That's the real key thing. So building community is built on a foundation. That foundation is faith and inner peace. Creating a community is something a little bit different. So creating a community is creating something worth building a community around. So when we create our agenda, create an inner community, we're creating something within ourselves to build something around. I like the life I got now. Right? It's totally different than what I did before. I had no idea I was going to do it, but I get to create whatever I want in the things that I do. Isn't that neat? And the neat part about it is I get paid very well for what I do, and I don't do it because I get paid very well financially, but that's really nice. I accept it gratefully. I do it because of the pay I get the other way. The pay that I can't put a price tag on. And we all richly deserve that. I just know for you that you're a little bit quicker of a learner than I was. I was a slow learner. I think I am still a slow learner sometimes. The sooner that we could get on this bandwagon and be able to be a little bit more, as I say, progressive in what we're doing, a little bit more inclusive in what we're doing, and embrace the fact that we're okay. That's the bottom line, folks, that we're okay. And again, it's loving and approve of ourselves. Louise Hay had that one in her book. I love and approve of myself. Anybody ever use that affirmation? I always have an addendum on the end of it, okay, which is really important. I love and approve of myself exactly as I am. Okay. Very, very clear about that, because most people don't want to start where they are. Because we all got those parts of us that, geez, if they only knew, right? And we don't want to start with that part. We want to start ahead of that. You can't. The only way to make any change and any growth is for one to unconditionally accept themselves exactly as they are. Okay? And that doesn't mean that you don't want to change, and it doesn't mean that there are some areas you don't particularly care for, and it doesn't mean there's some areas you don't want to be focused on a lot. We all have those, but we have to accept ourselves exactly as we are. And then we can move forward. I'll share one story about that, building community within yourself and the results of it, what can happen when one has a issue that's been bothering them for a long time. And we all have our little issues, but I had one that was severe, resulting in addictions. Anybody ever had an addiction? You don't have to raise your hand, but a few. Yeah, a lot of us had addictions, okay? And so what generally, if one is working on their addictions and not the real reason, is you'll give them up and substitute one for another. And of course, by the time I got going, I was doing really well. I got rid of all the bad ones. Look at me, see? But I still had the addiction. And so that manifests in me in a severe case of eating disorders. And so I remember when I started my church in Red Deer, and I'd gone up there, and it was a real conflict I had inside myself. I had a conflict with going and teaching a healing philosophy when I weighed 425 pounds with my eating disorders. And obviously, we can hide a lot of other stuff, but that you can't hide. It's real hard to hide that. Trust me, it don't work. Okay, so we get there, and I had to go through that conflict of coming to peace with the fact that I had enough that I felt that was valuable to help people to focus on, rather than to focus on what I hadn't done myself yet. And of course, it's not one of these things you can keep in the closet when you're out there like that, right? Okay, it was 425 pounds, and I went into eating disorders and things like that. And through that process of going through that, I was able to manage learning about what I needed to learn to be free from the destructive part of the addictive personality. Because it doesn't matter what you take it out. Some people are more socially acceptable, they just do it on TV. Oh, I wonder what's on tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. Which channel? They know them all. Okay? So one can become at peace, because I was really at a conflict. So how I got started with that is part of what my counseling program is, but not doing exactly what I did. I got here with that I love and approve of myself exactly as I am. So what I did was I don't want you to get a visual here, but I would take too late. I would take my clothes off and stand in front of the mirror on the edge of the sink and put the Buddha there, and I would rub the Buddha, and I would try to get that affirmation so I could believe it, but now every day, at least an hour a day, the same affirmation, looking in the mirror. And you know, a strange thing happened, is that after 6 months of doing that, I faithfully every day, 6 months, I got to tell you, it was a chore some days when you're rubbing the Buddha. All of a sudden, something different happened in my mind that I wasn't at first aware of. All of a sudden, I found it, I think I can believe that. I think I can believe that. And once I started to believe that, then I started to get results. Well, obviously I still have issues with it, but that's another story. I can still get around and do everything I want, so, you know. We all got things to deal with. It's like Ernest Holmes, the founder of Science of Mind. He said he wore glasses, and somebody said, well, you wear glasses, where's your healing? He says, well, I just happen to wear my imperfection on the end of my nose. Where's yours? So really, folks, I share that story to let you know that when I say this stuff about finding that inner peace and being sincere, and kind of, can you imagine having the Buddha there and eventually loving it? Okay? So that's when the peace started. And once the peace come, then I was able to manage things a bit better. Now I just manage. I don't have that major issue. Okay? And so I know for you that I know for myself that peace is our divine birthright. And that we're whole, perfect, and complete at all ways and in all times. And that healing presence is within us. Part of us flows through us and expresses by means of us. And I declare it and accept it for myself now and for each and one of us. And as we go forward, we say together, I am calm.
I am calm.
I am centered.
I am centered.
I am peaceful.
I am peaceful.
I am poised.
I am poised.
At all times.
At all times.
And all situations.
And all situations.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Mine's worse.
There's not quite enough activity there.
Oh dear.
I gotta clear the cobwebs from my consciousness to see the world through the eyes of my soul and let go of all that holds me back. If I want my life to grow, I gotta stand up